Hi, guys. Today I'm going to talk about transits. Specifically, what are they? How do you find them in Parashara's Light 9.0? And then how do you find your own transits in your own chart? And I'm going to use December 2025 as an example, how you can figure this out for yourself. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Tahia. Welcome to the light. I'm a Vedic astrologer and a astro techie. I'm here to show you tips and tricks how to use Parashara's Light 9.0 through content and tutorials. This video is for both a Mac and a PC. I did test it out on both devices and they work the same. I also wanted to say, sometimes when we watch videos or look at our charts, what transits that we're looking at sometimes don't transpire. And this is why it's especially important to look at your dasas. So remember, guys, the dasas are the foundation or the roots. The transits are the branches. And then when the fruit falls, that's the event that's going on. So you're probably wondering, well, I left out the trunk of the tree. And that is your natal chart. That's what holds everything together. I hope that helps just in a little bit of a picturesque way to give you an idea how transits work, because sometimes we have transits and the events we expect either don't happen or happen in a way that is unexpected. And that's primarily due to the dasas you're in. And from there, remember that whatever planet is transiting, to look to see if it is a friend or enemy to your ascendant lord. And that'll help give you a better picture of what's going on. So what is a transit? Very simply, a transit is a snapshot of planets in the sky that you can reference to your own birth chart, a customer's birth chart, a business birth chart, a country birth chart. It's where the planets are in the sky in reference to another chart, and overlapping both of these spaces to see what's going on. That, in essence, is what a transit is. Of course, we can go on and give longer definitions, but I just wanted to give you a quick idea before we jump into the video what actually a transit is, which I'm sure most of you know by now anyway. Let's jump into this chart. As you've seen this chart before, this is a fictitious client I call the astrologer. And this client specifically is a Taurus rising and a moon in Gemini. I don't want you to focus and think this is not applicable if you have a different rising sign or a moon sign. This is all about concept and technique. Keep that in mind as you listen to this video. Okay, so how do we find a transit in Parashara's Light? There's a couple of ways, and I'm going to walk you through the different ways and then show you what I do specifically to look at transits for any day, week, or month, year, etc. We're going to double click anywhere on the chart, and you'll see this chart and table selection pops up. This will pop up anytime you double click on the chart. The second section is called context, and you see here different worksheets. We're going to focus on these four here that I'm zooming in and highlighting. And with this, I'm going to focus on the latter two because those are the easier two to focus on first. If we click on Gochara, Transit, Ascendant, this will show you the transits to the ascendant. This person has a Taurus rising, and this is showing the transits in respect to Taurus rising. We see Saturn in the 11th in Pisces, Jupiter going retrograde in Cancer in the 3rd house, and we see K2 in the 4th house and Rahu in the 10th. And then we have the faster moving planets between Libra and Scorpio. So that's one way to look at transit. The second way is we're going to double click again, and this time we're going to click on Gochara Transit's moon. And now remember, this person had a moon in Gemini. If you notice, the natal planets are not showing up here. I am just going to visually put them in just so you can have an idea how this works. Again, we see from the moon, Saturn is in Pisces, 10th from the moon, and we see Jupiter is retrograde, 2nd from the moon in the sign of Cancer. K2 is in Leo, 3rd from the moon, and Rahu is in Aquarius, 9th from the moon. Let's look at how this works in the South Indian chart now. I'm going to double click again, go back to the birth chart, and now I'm going to go to the South Indian chart by clicking Options, Chart Style, and you'll see a user preference window pop up. We're going to switch to South Indian under Chart Style. And over here on the right side, these are different options that you can add to the South Indian chart in the corners. For the sake of this demo, I'm not going to populate all the corners. It's going to get kind of messy and a little bit hard to understand. And instead, what I'm going to do is just manually put them in as part of the demo. The only thing I've left here is the sign name in the top left-hand corner, and we're going to click OK. And we see these sign names are across the top left-hand corner. And remember, in the South Indian chart, the signs stay the same. Again, we have the Ascendant in Taurus and the Moon in Gemini. I'm going to double click here, click on Gochara Transit's Ascendant. And remember, this person was a Taurus rising. And we see here Saturn in Pisces in the 11th from Taurus, Jupiter in Cancer, 3rd from Taurus. And then we have the nodes, K2 in Leo, 4th house, and Rahu in Aquarius in the 10th house from Taurus. Now, if we go back and double click and we click on the moon, you're going to see the placements of the transiting planets don't change because in the South Indian chart, the signs stay the same. I'm going to visually place the moon in Gemini, and then you can see from there, Jupiter is retrograde, 2nd from Gemini. Saturn is direct in Pisces, 10th from Gemini. K2 in Leo is 3rd from Gemini. And Rahu in Aquarius is 9th from Gemini. I hope that helps just in understanding how you can double click and use these two options to look at the transits in the North and South Indian chart. Okay, now I'm back in the North Indian chart, and this is the birth chart of this client. I wanted to show you what the other two options, the animated transits and the Gochara transits. I reached out to Parashara's Light. Animated transits is based on the astrologer's location. Gochara transits is based on the client location. However, I did want to just point this out to you guys that when I click on animated transit, it says Gochara transits. And then when I click on Gochara transits, it says today. And as you can see, slightly confusing. I just wanted to show you how these worked in Parashara's Light. It's a little bit confusing the way it's worded. So I would say at this point, don't worry about it. And we are going to cancel out of here. Now I'm going to show you what method I use to actually look at transits. We see an icon up here that looks like a chart with 2 arrows. We're going to click on this, and you'll see a drop-down table that has 4 sections. We're going to look at the first section on the very left under charts where it's highlighted called Animated Transits, and we're going to click on this. So you see here a bunch of stuff that shows up on this worksheet. Before I show you how to do things, I want to just explain how this is organized. You can see here there's kind of 3 separate sections. We have this big circle on the left, we have this table in the middle, and then we have 3 more tables stacked on the right. How does this work? Let's take this one at a time before we actually start using the transits. On the very left, we have what's called a composite chart. What is a composite chart? A composite chart is 2 charts on top of each other. This is often found in compatibility charts where you look at yourself and your partner or 2 different people, a chart of a business, a country, how it relates to yourself. In essence, it's just 2 different charts on top of each other, and you're looking to see how the planets of each chart align to see what kind of pros, cons, challenges, limitations, strengths, weaknesses, etc. A transit chart is pretty much the same thing. It's 2 charts on top of each other. The inner wheel is the natal chart, and the outer wheel or circle are the actual transiting planets in respect to the natal charts. I do want to point out this is a circle chart, and in Parashara's Light, this is the default chart for transits. However, if you just right-click anywhere and you click on North Indian, you will see the same type of composite chart. The inner chart is the natal chart, and the outer chart is the transit chart. I also want to show you this for South Indian. Same thing applies here. The inner chart is the natal chart, and the outer chart is the transit chart. I am going to go back to the circular chart only because it's the default chart, and I want to show you how this works on the default configuration. Let's look at the table in the middle. If you go to Tools up here on the menu, you will see Change Time Tool checked. Let's look at this a little bit more carefully. You'll see a drop down here, and it has Birth Chart, Animated Transits, and Muhurta. We're going to leave it on Animated Transits because that's what we're looking. Below that, you're going to see segments of time from 10 years all the way to seconds. And this shows how granular you can manipulate the segments of time, starting from moving things 10 years back or 10 years forward, 1 year back, 1 year forward, etc., all the way down to seconds. This really gives you a lot of insight into the nitty-gritty of how you can change your transits and look at them depending on what period of time you're in. This section right here that says stop, real time, and animate. I'm going to start with real time just to show you how the others work. Real time is going to depict the date, time, year that you are sitting in right now. As you can see, this defaulted to Saturday, November 29, 2025, 8:38 in the morning, because that's the time where I am sitting today. Now, if I want to either go back a day or forward a day, I click on stop, and it pretty much pauses the real time. Animate will actually show you movements of the planets. And as you can see here, we see the Ascendant and Moon, which are the fastest moving planets, moving the most rapidly here. Edit date. This, if you click on this, you'll see this pop-up box right here, and you can change the date up here. I don't use this. I actually change the date by using these. It's a little bit easier. So I'm going to X out of this, but that is one way if you want to change the date, you can if you're looking at a very specific date in the past or the future. Add to pick list. This actually allows you to add a specific date to a list. Let's just say we're going to add a date to this list. You will see it added it right here. Now, if we want to remove any of those dates we added to the pick list, we go to stop, click on the drop down. Let's just click on November 29th. Going to say remove from pick list, and you will see it disappears. So if you click on help, this takes you to the specific worksheet in Parashara's Light that can walk you through this. Personally, I prefer videos. We are going to click out of this and we're back here. Let's move on to the tables on the very right that are stacked on top of each other. The first one is birth chart. And you see here, we've got the ascendant, all of the planets, the degrees down to 3 granular levels, which is minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. RC is if it's retrograde or combust. Rashi is the sign it's in. Nakshatra is the nakshatra it's in. Nama refers to Nama Nakshatra, which is the sound of the nakshatra in specific padas that can correlate to names and other things. And then we have the pada 1 through 4. And then we have also the Lord, Sublord, and Sub-Sublord if you want to go to the analysis that uses those details. That is the first table. The second table is where we're going to focus on, and this is where the transits are right now. And then the third table refers to the transits based on Ashtanga Varga, which is another concept in Vedic astrology. For the sake of this discussion, we are going to focus on the middle table. And now I want to show you how you can find transits for the month of December in your own chart or whoever's chart that you may be looking at. I am going to move this date to December 1st, and I'm going to do that by clicking on the plus sign right here. And you will see we are at December 1st. And how I'm going to organize this is I'm going to go through the slow moving planets first, and that includes Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, and Ketu. And then we will look at the faster moving planets, which are the Moon, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, since it's not retrograde. I would group Mars more on the slower moving planets if it is retrograde, but since it's not, we're going to keep it with the faster moving planets right now. Okay, so we are on December 1st, and what I want you to do, I'm going to move this over here, is look at Saturn in the middle table and watch how it moves. I'm going to do this by week just because by day it would take a little longer. And you will see right now, Saturn is at 056 in the sign of Pisces, nakshatra of Purvabhadrapad in Pada 4. And if I click on this week by week, you will see it change. And by December 31st, it's almost at 2 degrees. We're still in Pisces, Purvabhadrapad, Pada 4. These slower moving planets, for the most part, within a month, will tend to stay in the same sign unless they are going retrograde, like we will see for Jupiter. That is Saturn. Note that in 1 month, in its direct motion, it went almost 2 degrees. Now let's look at Jupiter. You can see at the beginning of December, Jupiter is at 0 degrees 16 seconds, retrograde in Cancer in Punavarsu and Pada 4. If we do this week by week, you will see Jupiter moving into Gemini. And you can see within the week, it's moved into Gemini. If you want to see how this works on a more granular level, let's go back to the beginning of December. And I'm going to go day by day, and you can see exactly when it moves to Gemini. So you can see December 2nd, it is still in Cancer. December 3rd, it's still in Cancer. 4th, and finally on December 5th, you see that it moves to 29 degrees of Gemini. And now if we just keep going on our week to week, you will see by the end of the month, Jupiter will be at 27 degrees retrograde in Gemini in Punavarsu, and it's moved to Pada 3. You can see it moved about 3 degrees in its retrograde motion in the month of December. Also remember, Jupiter right now is considered what's called Achatari, which means it's moving fast. So Jupiter is moving at a faster speed than normal. And where this is in your chart, whatever house it's in, this is where you can expect things to not only move a little bit faster, but you may make decisions according to that house faster than you normally would, which is why it's really best to know this so you can kind of take a step back in making those decisions. Now we're going to look at the nodes, Rahu and Ketu, and you can see here in this chart, it may look a little confusing because this client actually has her natal nodes in Leo and Aquarius, and this is called an inverse nodal transit, which means if you're going through this, you can definitely expect changes, especially depending if this is conjunct any natal planets. Anyway, that is more for analysis, but just wanted to give you a little bit of insight on that. If we're looking at this, we see Ketu is in Leo and Rahu is in Aquarius. I'm highlighting it here. If we go to December 1st, we will see Rahu and Ketu are at 20 degrees of their respective signs. And now if we click and go week by week, and I go to the end of December, we will see that they are at 16 degrees. You will see they have moved about 3.5 degrees in 1 month. Rahu remains in Satabisha in Pada 4. Ketu remains in Purva Falguni in Pada 2. Note that Rahu is super strong in its own nakshatra. Once Ketu moves into its own nakshatra Mag, and we can actually do that really quick. This is around the end of April. You will have Rahu in its own nakshatra and Ketu in its own nakshatra. And this can be a period of a lot of intense changes because the nodes are in their own nakshatra. Just another tidbit for analysis. And I'm going to go back to where we are today. I've changed it to December 1st. That was it for the slow moving planets. And I hope that helps. So you can do this in your own chart and understand what's going on. Now I'm going to go to the faster moving planets and I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to move this over here and I'm going to start with the moon. And as of December 1st, the moon is at 29 degrees of Pisces. You will see, if I do this day by day, you'll see how quickly the moon moves. And now I'm going to just go through the rest of the month and click on week. And you will see by actually December 31st, the moon has moved into Taurus. Moon is the fastest moving planet. It is going to cover all 27 nakshatras in the month, as well as all 12 signs. That's the moon. And now I'm going to show you what the sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars look like. December 1st, we see Mercury in Libra. And then we have Venus, Sun, and Mars in Scorpio. If we click on this, and if you watch the transits, you'll see them move as well. And you can see by the end of the month that we have 4 planets in Sagittarius. And if we go to January 1, this means we are starting the new year off with 4 planets in Sagittarius. We've got Mercury in Mula. Mula is symbolized by tree roots. And this is literally like thinking we're breaking down things to the bare bones, trying to deconstruct our situation. And then we have the Sun, Venus, and Mars in Purva Ashada. Purva Ashada is symbolized by the elephant tusk. The elephant tusk is very sharp. Again, we are looking at deep penetration for our mental insight to find what else but the truth, because this is Sagittarius. We're starting the new year really breaking down things to see see how our truth and purpose can be uncovered. Sounds a little generic, but if you think about it, it's not a coincidence that we are starting the new year like this. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you learned how to figure out your own transits. If you feel things are not transpiring to what folks are saying, remember to look at your own dashas. Again, dashas are the roots of a tree. The transits are the branches, and when the fruits fall, that's the event. The trunk is your natal chart holding everything together. Always remember that if you're trying to figure out why things just maybe aren't working out or why things aren't happening the way you think they may be, go back to the Dasas. I hope that helps you out. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video, and keep shining your light.